Aquarius, welcome to Aries season. My name is Renee and this is Embodied Astrology, and this is your horoscope for the season ahead, March 20th through April 19th, 2025. I am not here to offer you a predictive horoscope. I am here to tune in with what I am feeling coming through the energetic landscape in Aries season and to offer you embodied somatic tools to work with your body, your breath, your personal awareness, aligning yourself with the highest potentials and staying centered and connected to your resources through the challenges. This is a general reading for Aquarius sun, rising, and moon. Everybody has Aquarius in their chart, so if you know where Aquarius is for you, you can also listen through the lens of those placements. And because it is a general reading, not everything is for everyone, so take what works and leave the rest. Okay, Aquarius. Aries lives in a very special part of your chart, and this is a place of communication. Communication happens 70% in the nonverbal landscapes. That means that our communication is happening all the time through the felt sense, through inference, through gesture, through our subtle awarenesses. And in Aries season, there is so much happening in astrological movement that is asking you to increase your discernment, your skill, your capacities with communication. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to say that we are working with retrograde energy. And over the course of Aries season, these retrogrades are active. And something is happening for you that I'm feeling really has a lot to do with your values and your resources. You need to know what you need, what you want, what you have and have to give. And in that knowing, you need to be both practical and imaginative. You have to work with the material and the subtle. You need to be able to say point blank, I need this, this, and that. And you also need to be able to tune into your feelings about it. Some of you may be actually needing to do some kind of audit or budget or check in with what you have, what you need, and what you want. Some of you are needing to have conversations that look at shared resources and really pay attention to the whys and the hows and the what is getting exchanged with others. I do want to say that if you are working on any long-term plans, especially plans that are feeling important, that might take you into the next chapter of your life, that have anything to do with creative projects, with children, with family, with housing, or with your actual just life and existence, and other people are involved with it, please take your time. Aquarius, you have all of Aries season, definitely, to be in a process. Now, Aries in our bodies lives in our heads, and particularly in our eyes and the fronts of our face and the fronts of our brains, and in the ways that we organize around our sense of self. So the I feeling, the me, the my feeling, when you use the first person pronoun, this is Aries expressing. And again, everybody has Aries in their charts. Everybody has this kind of energy in our bodies. We can also think about our egos. And here I'm just talking about the basic necessity to have a sense of self. That's a healthy ego, and it's totally required to get through life on planet Earth. Now, sometimes we can become egotistical. Sometimes we can get up in our heads about things. We can become headstrong or hot-headed, particularly when we are engaged with anything that feels like a threat or conflict or disagreement. Definitely when we get engaged around things that we really desire and we feel passionate about. And anytime we feel urgent or hasty or for whatever reason activated. And these are sensations that correspond with Aries as an energetic pattern and principle. So over the course of Aries season, a lot of you are really needing to tune in with what you have, what you need, what you want, what you're investing in. Some of you are really needing to have conversations with other people about where your needs and your wants and what you have gets shared or intermixed with each other. And all of you are really needing to work with your own mind and communication through these processes. So when we work with Aries in an embodied way, we want to be conscious of how the I feeling and self-preservation and kind of overblown ego can manifest through this kind of headiness, or ways that we can kind of like leave our bodies and get into what feels like the forward trajectory or momentum, which can also be a fight and flight kind of space. A lot of times this literally is happening in people's eyes. And so if you think about a time when, let's say, you just felt a threat, people look like, it's like, what is that? Right? And so the eyes will quickly orient. Sometimes people will get a crease between their eyes. The actual tissue of the eyes can become hardened with mistrust or trying to like suss a situation or something like that. So if you notice that these kinds of sensations exist in your face and in your head in any given moment, you can work consciously to relax them. And in doing that, you will also help regulate your mental process and calm your nervous system. One way that you can do that is by noticing the actual feeling and sensation of breath as you breathe in through your nose. And I know not everybody can breathe through their nose all the time. So you can also breathe through your mouth and just kind of notice the upward swell of breath as it moves into your head. And if you can breathe through your nose, notice the sensation of breath as it travels in to your sinuses. Let the inhale breath take you into your head, and then as you exhale, consciously relax your brain. And you could even imagine you're like under a waterfall or a shower, and all of that excess mental energy can just flow down to the earth. Another way that you can help regulate and balance Aries energy is by working with the polarity of Aries, and this is the sign Libra. And Libra lives in our bodies in our back bodies, and especially around the low back and kidney region. If your shoulders will allow it, you can touch this part of your body with your palms, or you can cross your forearms behind you and try and direct your breath into your low back. Notice how it feels in your head to breathe into your back. You might even explore imagining that your breath can expand at your back body, like you are blowing up a bubble of protection behind you. And then again, as you exhale, releasing your tension, releasing your stress towards the earth. Now, even though I'm talking to you while I'm doing this, just doing that a couple of times helped me feel more regulated and at ease and less kind of in my head about this horoscope. So I hope that you are also able to feel some of those pacifying, calming, cooling energetics of that breath. And I will highly encourage you to use those kinds of breathing and consciously to relax your brain, and also to balance the space between your front and your back, or that forward moving action energetic of Aries, with the more receptive, kind of intuitive, steady space of Libra, or the back body, particularly in situations where you find that there are like conflicts or feelings of scarcity or feelings of threat, or if you're in any kind of activation in your own self, in your mental space. Now, this is important in Aries season, but it's definitely important throughout the year and into the foreseeable future. I talk about this a lot in your 2025 year ahead reading, But there are major movements in the outer planets in 2025, and one of them is the planet Neptune is coming into Aries. This is going to be a 13-year cycle. Neptune will be there until 2038. This year it's moving just into the first degrees. It will retrograde to the last degree of Pisces. I tell you all about it in your 2025 reading. Definitely check that out. But as Neptune comes into your third house and into the space that Aries governs for Aquarius, there is really a need for you to, I'm going to say, expand your communication capacities through subtle awareness and through working with your subtle body and subtle body principles. Now, again, 70% or more, I think it's more, communication happens in nonverbal ways. And so much communication happens through subtle transmission. And if you think about, walking into a room and like someone has a vibe and they don't need to say anything, they don't need to do anything, they don't even need to like look a kind of way, you just feel it. That's subtle communication. And if we can attune ourselves and become a lot more conscious and skilled working with subtle communication, not only will we become more wise and discerning about what's happening in our relationships, we'll also become way more effective in our communication with others, because we'll be able to really assess when there is impact happening that is not our intent, when there's misalignment between the words coming out of our mouths and how we actually feel. When, a lot of us are trying to be honest, it can also be kind of scary. And many of us find ourselves unable or unwilling to communicate about certain things because we don't want to disrupt the relationship, or we don't know how somebody's going to react or respond. And so there are ways that we can actually work with our more subtle patterns of communication to help the conversations that need to happen. Now, what's happening for Aquarius, I think, is that a lot of you are really feeling the need to communicate in some new and different ways. Aquarius is a sign that is so intelligent and has so much capacities for really seeing how things are happening, why things are happening. You are a sign that is associated with humanitarianism and also with engineering. Aquarians are, like I said, highly intelligent. You can see patterns. You understand how big pictures are forming and what their potentials are. The world needs Aquarius perspective right now. The world definitely needs the kinds of Aquarian perspectives that are liberatory, that are humanitarian, that help us as human beings connect with each other in the mess of our situation right now. How can we see these bigger patterns? How can we work intelligently inside of our communities to prepare for the future and to deal with the present? You have something to say about this, is what I think. Tell me I'm wrong. Leave me a comment. Tell me how this is landing for you. But I think that a lot of Aquarians out there actually really are feeling called right now to communicate and share and express. And again, so much communication is not about us talking. Maybe it's about listening. Maybe it's about having bigger conversations where more voices can join. Maybe it's about actually expanding our notion of what communication is to include the more than human realms. What would be possible if we could really listen to the land, to the water, to the fires, to the floods? So much is happening on planet Earth that really needs us to engage in new ways, in skillful ways. I think there are some vibes that Aquarius might be picking up these days that has to do with feeling a longing, feeling compelled, feeling moved in some ways to communicate and express the possibilities that you feel for communication in and of itself. I don't know if that came out clear. How is my communication? The feeling that I have is if we could listen to each other better, if we could have more skills for sharing what's true for us, we would find the solutions that we need. So many of the problems that are ravaging and destroying the world right now are fundamentally about miscommunication and lack of capacity for communication. I think a lot of you have some kind of skills, have some kind of tools, or at least a longing and a dream to engage in those ways. So take it or leave it, take what works, leave the rest. I will also say that Neptune's entry into this place could suggest high levels of delusion, illusion, and fantasy when it comes to your communications. And so it is imperative for Aquarians right now to work skillfully and with discernment with your mind, because not everything you think is true. And we are living in an age of enormous misinformation and disinformation, and people are out of our freaking minds. And we could all kind of lose contact with whatever reality is very easily at the click of a button. So please be discerning about what's happening inside your mind. What kinds of information are you exchanging? What are you focusing on? What are you nurturing inside of your mind? What we pay attention to and what we focus on and what we fantasize about becomes emotional. It becomes physical, and that then becomes our behavior and our decisions. And so when people say you create your own reality, what they're talking about is this, that through our consciousness, we embody what we imagine, what we think about, what we fantasize and daydream about actually has a vibe. It has a presence. It has actions, decisions, behaviors, thoughts, and words that go along with it. If your mind is spiraling in distress and doom and agitation and anger, that's going to do something to you. That's going to create an overflow of stress hormones. That's going to dysregulate your nervous system. That's going to set up propensity for certain kinds of relational dynamics. That's going to impact your decision-making ability. If you are completely spaced out and checked out and not paying any attention, that too will impact how you can relate and what you can, prepare for, and how you can decide what your next best steps are. So, and how you can relate with other people, right? And empathize with them. So there needs to be a kind of balance, right? These days between what's hard and terrible to look at and also part of reality, and what is beautiful and numinous and full of hope and also part of reality. We need to have a balance between what kind of news we take in and the attention that we give to the sky and the land and our felt sense and each other. How you work with this is up to you. Of course, Aquarius, I am just making suggestions here, but I will say that as Neptune enters your sign, you probably will feel that your fantasy life maybe takes on a different kind of tone. Your dreams might become stronger. You also might feel yourself actually wanting to communicate much more poetically and creatively. We are moving into a period of time when there is a lot of creative energy for Aquarius especially. And if any of you are thinking about writing songs or books or poetry or speaking out loud or telling stories or something like that, and you want to change the world through some kind of creative expression, please, we need your voice right now. It's so important, and you are ready. Okay, the first 10 days or so of Aries season, and that's basically from the equinox until the end of March, really feel like a period of time when there's a lot of polarity energy. And we are living in a time when polarity and opposition is just so strong. There's a lot of divisiveness, and there's a lot of creativity and kind of dynamic opportunity in polarity. And a lot of folks, I think, are feeling energized and newly energized to be making connections across distance and across difference. And in my opinion, this is what we need to do. And how we do that is by transcending the argument of the othering that happens, seeing ourselves in one another, appreciating the ways that conflict and difference can actually reflect back to us what we may be less aware of in ourselves. How do we work skillfully with conflict, with difference, and with polarity? We regulate. We internally regulate and we co-regulate. How do we regulate? We pay attention to when we are imbalanced, especially when we're totally in our heads and, coming forward with a lot of urgency. And also when we are way back and hidden and insecure and not able to come out at all. How do we balance that forward, backward energy? Breathe. Pay attention to your actual body. Pay attention to the way that your actual energy is moving through space and start to play with it. Other ways we can regulate and co-regulate: dance together, make music together, make art together, share meals together, find ways to have fun and enjoy and celebrate life together. One of the best ways we can build bonds with one another is to laugh together. And because of this movement in your house of communication, I will also say, Aquarius, it's a really good time for you to get some new jokes and to work on your delivery. I think that a lot of you have latent storytelling capacities and some kind of gift of the gab that really is ready to come out. That's going to look different for everybody. For some of you, it could be coaching. For some of you, it could be consulting. For some of you, it could be talking to kids. For some of you, it could be working with meditation and your own, internal narrative or something like that. But please pay attention to the ways that your life is asking you to pay attention in new and different ways. Remember that communication happens on so many levels. And before it's about external expression, it is about internal perception. Make yourself available to perceive the world around you. Get curious about what other people are going through and how they're feeling. Notice them. Notice your impact on them. Get curious about what happens when you change things up a little bit. Do they do something different? Maybe a rut that you've been in relationally will change if you make a little micro adjustment in your own energy. You never know. Let me know in the comments if it works for you. March 29th, we have a new moon and solar eclipse in Aries. This is the last eclipse in a series of eclipses that began in 2023. Over these last 2 years, a lot of you have been getting a lot of messages about your communication. These eclipses have been really asking you to pay attention to the ways that you communicate, to the ways that you connect, to the ways that you exchange information. Many of you have been learning and trying to learn new things. A lot of you have been unlearning and trying to unlearn old things. I have a strong feeling that many of you in these eclipses over the last 2 years have been letting go of identities that you were holding on to for other people. So the feeling is here, let's say that, you grew up, let's say in a religious background, religious family. And every time you go home, you have to pretend like you're not witchy. You have to pretend that you're devout or something like that. Let's just say, because you don't want to get into an argument with your auntie or someone like that. And it's like you were just upholding it because you didn't really want to get into the argument. And you were like, well, I can just kind of be spacious and let this part of myself be over here. And we don't always need to understand each other or see eye to eye or something like that. But there's something that's happening right now where I feel like you're just you know what? F it. This is who I am. And you're letting that identity drop. So that was clearly an example, but this could be things like, you no longer have a certain job, or you have outgrown a particular relational role, or you don't believe the same things that you used to believe, and you need to like come out to your friend group about it, or something like that. This particular eclipse is definitely energizing you around your communication and your creativity. It does feel like a very powerful time for new forms and new ideas to be coming through. If you are at all interested in writing poetry, singing songs, telling stories, or having any kind of creative outlet for communication, this is a powerful new moon to work with. If you are someone who has been writing a book, preparing a speech, or working on something with other people, and you're thinking about how to like spread it more broadly in the world in the future, this is a really powerful time to plant seeds around that or get the ball rolling with that kind of thing. The last thing I'll say is that this is a very powerful eclipse for organizing. And I know that a lot of Aquarians are activists and organizers and community movers and shakers. If you are working on projects that have to do with organizing, use this new moon and eclipse to set your intentions for what it is that you are doing with your group, and let it be a space for dynamic conversation. Uplift and elevate curiosity as a value, and really try and create spaces where many voices can be heard and can join in the chorus. As I've already mentioned, this is a powerful time as well to be thinking about what you need, what you have, and what you want, and what your values are. This is true for you, and this is also true for you with any kinds of collaborations or relationships or groups that you might be working with. So if there are conversations like that that need to happen, this is a great time to have them. This energy persists through the first 2 weeks of April as we move towards the full moon in Libra, which is your fellow air sign. That full moon, while it's not an eclipse, is definitely working with these eclipses because it is coming after that last eclipse in Aries. And I think that it's going to feel kind of like the page of the chapter turning. If you have been working on projects, especially that have lined up with this 2-year eclipse cycle since 2023, those projects are probably coming to a close or ready to transition into their next phase. Many of you are clarifying around these questions of what do you want, what do you have, what do you need, and what are your values over the course of the first 2 weeks of April. And then the full moon is kind of giving you that go ahead to move forward into whatever plans need to come next. I cannot encourage you enough, Aquarius, as you move towards this full moon, and especially as you pay attention to the questions of what do you want, what do you have, and what do you need, and what are your values. I cannot encourage you enough to really invest yourself in gratitude practices and paying attention to what is already beautiful, already abundant. There are so many ways that we can get real down on the state of things and see where all of the fucking problems are. There's a lot of problems. And if we only focus on the problems and we only focus on the negativity, we don't have the juice that we need. We don't have the sustenance. We don't actually have the resource. Focus on the beauty. Focus on what's already abundant. Go outside. Pay attention to Earth and the way that Earth is constantly, brilliantly creative and adapting and always seems to find a way. And get fascinated by that and appreciate it and find something beautiful and let it touch you in your spirit, in your soul, and in your mind. Relax your brain around it and let your whole body be taken over by the feeling of, wow, that's so beautiful. I'm so grateful that I get to see that. If you're worried about resource right now, if you're feeling scarcity, if you're feeling pressed, if you're in a survival state, pay attention to the resources that you already have. This will help you make skillful choices and figure out how to get more of what you need. Getting real spirally around all the need and not investing in the gratitude will isolate you, and it will send you into a state of stress. And that state of stress, as we've already talked about, cortisol, adrenaline, gets you up into your hot-headedness. Excess Aries energy is very individualistic and can be extremely harmful because of that. Even if it feels like scarcity times, pay attention to what is already abundant. Pay attention to where there is resource and where there is enough. Let that enter into your physical somatic awareness and help you regulate your nervous system as you also consider what else is needed. There are dynamic, powerful new configurations taking shape in 2025 and moving into 2026. Aries, you can get what you want and what you need, but listen to me. I just called you Aries. I meant to call you Aquarius. Aquarius, listen to me. You can get what you want and what you need, but you cannot get it alone. You absolutely cannot get it alone. What you want and what you need will be a collective project. Your job right now is to figure out how to work brilliantly in your relationships. In order for you to work brilliantly in your relationships, you have to confront the shadow parts of Aquarius that always feel like the odd one out, that always feel like the iconoclast, that always need to like critique the group and the group mindset or whatever, like go off and do your own thing, or I don't know how it manifests for you. Those are just cliches about Aquarius. But what resonates? In what ways do you feel yourself separating from relationship, feeling yourself as other? I don't think that's so useful to you right now, which isn't to say you don't get to be special and unique and like be your own vibe. But if the feeling of being other means that an other then is inaccessible to you and you're going to judge them or feel somehow like they're judging you, that's not useful. Everyone's kind of a weirdo if you give them a chance to be. Maybe if you feel that sense of isolation and strangeness that Aquarians can feel, get curious about how other people feel that way and try and spark up some conversations, and I don't know, like host some community events about like letting your freak flag fly or whatever, like how do you make more connection, not more estrangement? A lot of your intelligence actually comes from your capacity to be kind of removed and to see the big picture. Part of your job right now is to step into the picture with everybody else and be in the questions together. Not remove yourself. You don't have all the answers. Just be in it. Be in the experience of it. The last week of Aries season, lots of fire energy starts to come up in the mix. This means especially for you that you are getting feisty, you are getting fired up, and so are the people around you. There is definitely big combustive energy in 2025, and it is heating up in Aries season. I don't know what this means on a collective level, but my prayer and my biggest hope is that it means creative, dynamic collaboration and the people coming together to take our power back from billionaires and corporations and warmongers and do something different with our energy. And if you feel aligned with that, I'm going to say that Aries season is a great time to get moving and keep moving with it and to really try and engage some new possibilities. And new possibilities come through dynamic, courageous, celebratory engagement with difference. That is what the Earth teaches us as a place that thrives with biodiversity. Biodiversity is abundant and multiplied through creative combination. Okay, so get to it, Aquarius. There is something hopefully here for you. If any of this resonated for you, let me know in the comments. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. Please support this work if it's valuable to you. The number one way to do that is to share it. send off these horoscopes to your friends and networks. Definitely check out embodiedastrology.com, get on our newsletter. We have a private member space where we do a whole lot more than horoscopes. We have community events all the time, like the one coming up on March 22nd, which is a special conversation with the astrologer Laura Chung. She's going to be talking to us about astrology and revolutions, and I think some of you might really want to be there. She has mapped revolutionary astrology in history and is bringing that into the present and helping us forecast into the future and organize around it. You can also find me every Monday from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific on Zoom in Somatic Space, which is a place where we play with the astrology of the week ahead through our felt sense, through meditation, through movement and guided visualization. It is a place that is quite fun, and we have great conversations after the classes. So much is going on at Embodied Astrology, so please check us out. You can find all the links in the show notes below. And Aquarius, I'm wishing you all the best in Aries season and beyond. Bye for now.